Hey guys, what's up? On this video, we'll check and compare the 3 major Zhask adjustments on Advanced Server. Number 1 is the basic attacks. The developers removed the first 2 basic attacks of the spawn. Instead, it will now continuously release death rays. They are considered basic attacks and are no longer affected by attack speed stats. As you can see from this example, the frequency does not increase even if you add attack speed items. Part of the adjustment is the slow effect, where it got reduced from 60% to 30%. It's a balancing adjustment because in the current version, the spawn has to release 2 basic attacks before the slow takes effect. But on the new version, the death ray slow effect is applied immediately. This means enemies will be slowed upon the first hit of his spawn. Moving on, they also adjusted the death ray's damage by lowering its base and increasing the magic scaling. So which version is stronger? Let's find out by comparing their damage. Here we have level 4 with no items, using the same emblems. First, the basic spawn. As you can see, the new version dealt more damage. Now let's try the ultimate spawn. So the new version still had the higher damage. Next test, we're going to add items and upgrade their level to 15. We'll use the attack speed build on official server, while full magic build on advance. I didn't use glowing wand so that the damage doesn't get affected by the target's HP. First is the basic spawn. So right here, we can see that the official server had the higher damage. And then here's the ultimate skill, where I'll use Inspire on the current version. As you can see, the official version wins with its attack speed build. Based on this test, the official server had the higher damage at late game with a full build. But in the early game, when there's not much items, the new Zhask had the upper hand. Now let's move on to the number 2 adjustment, which is his second skill. If you use your second skill on multiple enemies, the spawn will stun them one at a time. On his current version, the stun takes effect immediately. So what's so special about this one? Well, if you've noticed on official server, the death rays are cancelled when you use second skill. It goes back to its 2 basic attacks and then death ray again. It's like resetting the spawn when using the second skill. But on advanced server, the spawn returns to its death ray attacks. So no damage is lost if you use your second skill. As for his ultimate and second skill, it remains the same, where you can stun enemies in a single line. Now let's check the last adjustment, which is his ultimate. On the current version, you can only summon your ultimate depending on your spawn's location. So if the spawn is here, that means the ultimate will appear on the same place. On the new version, they changed that. As you can see, you can now select where your ultimate will appear without relying on the spawn's position. If you don't have a spawn, you can still select your spot just like this. On official server, you will summon the ultimate depending on your spot. So what's the verdict? Did Zhask become stronger or weaker? After playing several games on advanced server, here are my observations. Number 1 is the better mana regeneration. I had no problems with this mana requirement on my games. The only mana regeneration I had was the one from Impure Rage. This means you can ditch the old demon boots and replace it with Arcane. Number 2 is the comfortable usage of his ultimate. Using his ultimate on his old version was a hassle because you're relying on your first skill's location. And if it's on cooldown, you'll have to wait to finish before you can summon your ultimate to a good spot. But now, you have more freedom to place your ultimate. You don't have to worry about your first skill, allowing you to easily surprise enemies. This is like a beginner-friendly Zhask version. Number 3 is his iteming station. Now that he no longer relies on attack speed, you can now go on full damage. You don't have to strike a balance between damage and attack speed. Number 4 is his flexibility with the new items. Wishing Lantern plus Glowing Wand allows you to deal damage that's based on the enemy's HP. And the new Glowing Wand also has Life Bane effect. He now has more item slots unlike before, where you're forced to include attack speed items. Number 5 is the Battle Spell. Now that Inspire is no longer needed, there are now more possibilities with the other battle spells. You can use Flicker for escaping, or Flicker for repositioning, or even Flicker for surprise attacks. Now let's talk about damage. The current Zhask had the ability to burst enemies down with his attack speed. But now that it's removed, his late game feels a lot weaker now. He can no longer burst squishy enemies with Inspire, but in return, he gained different abilities like easier ultimate positioning, more flexible item selection, and consistent damage in the early game. So I guess it's just fair. No burst damage, but he can surprise enemies with his new ultimate's position. For me, I prefer the new Zhask because of how easy it is to play him. Overall, I think the adjustments to Zhask were successful in making him more balanced and viable. However, there's still some areas where they could be improved. So how about you? What's your take on the new Zhask? Share it in the comment section. That's all for this video. Stay safe and thank you for watching.